GG33 podcast, and today we have a holistic medicine expert. My man Troy, let's get right into it. Who are you? What do you do? And exactly why the hell should people listen to you?
That's a great question. Well, I'm Troy Casey, the certified health nut. I've created that moniker for the last 20 years on social media. I was sitting in the Amazon rainforest drinking ayahuasca with the Shipibo Indians, and I had a huge heart opening, and I just realized the way of the world at the time. It was 2006. We had just started the Iraq war. I knew that there was so much BS around that, and I heard a plane go up above me, and I could gauge it was about 40, maybe 50,000 feet. It was way up there, and most commercial jetliners, I think they fly as high as 35, 40,000 feet, right around there. And it was way up there, and I hadn't heard a plane in a couple weeks. I was sitting in the Amazon, and I just started thinking about the people getting bombs dropped on them in Iraq and how terrible that is. And the oil exploration was one of the #1 deforestation components in the Amazon, and I was really guided to make a difference in this world. And then I realized George Bush, was pulling off whatever he was doing over there. And, that guy, there's so much hate. And I realized that guy actually needs more love. And so for the last 20 years or so on social media, I've been doing my best to raise awareness at the same time as, cheering human beings on. How do we expect the world to be healthy if we are not healthy ourselves? As above, so below is the natural law of correspondence. And so it's time to take care of our own real estate, our side of the street, if you will. And so I've been teaching various components of that on my social media over the years. And so holistic health is mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And I've identified 9 pillars of health that I put in my book and my online curriculum.
So you're a 9 life path, and you have 9 pillars to success.
Yes.
Was that done on purpose? Was that done on purpose?
Well, I'm sure to one degree or another, and that's just the way it shook out ultimately. Some intention is utilized with numbers with me, and then maybe some sheer luck as well. But I do like the number 3 and the number 333, which chalks up to 9, and any derivatives of 3. And that's the way I've been cut for a very long time before I was spiritually aware of anything.
Well, being aware of numbers is being spiritually aware, because don't think NPCs know anything about this. They're the first ones going to tell you, oh, this is a coincidence. Like, for instance, you said you're born 12/30, 1965. So you would
Correct.
be someone who's born on the 30th. And as we know, people who follow me as a numerologist, people who are born on the 30th have a very good way of articulating what they believe to other people. You have a nice following, don't you?
Yes, I've been able to make a lot of friends online.
So let me ask you this. No matter what you know as a health guru, no matter what type of knowledge you have, it wouldn't mean a damn thing if you weren't able to articulate it and talk to the people in a way where they can understand where you're coming from, correct?
Absolutely. I think simplicity is the antidote for complexity.
Okay. You mentioned ayahuasca. There's quite a few people I know that ayahuasca is fucked up personally. Now, when you talk about ayahuasca, from what I understand, the person who's administrating the ayahuasca has to do everything correctly, because if they don't, they risk fucking someone up. Is this true or not in your experience?
Yes, this has a component. So the shaman is known to put up an arcana of protection, a dome of protection in the ceremony and for the people. And there are black magicians, brujos, in the Amazon, people that are misusing this type of spiritual energy. So it's very important, whoever you allow into your energy field, much less on high-powered psychedelics, that they have pure intent at heart. Maybe you have your own connection to God as well. I think that's very important. I also think it's important to have some type of spiritual ballast or backbone that you've practiced, kind of a little knowledge of self before embarking on a journey like that. The psychedelics are a tool; they're not a say-all, end-all, and definitely you can get messed up with the wrong person. Absolutely.
What would you say to someone who said, "Listen, I believe that ayahuasca is something I should try. I believe that DMT is something I should try, but listen, where do you expect me to get it here in the United States of America? If so, so they might get some shit that fucks them up. It's not even the real thing." What would you recommend to people who say, "Listen, I want to try this stuff, but I mean, it's not like you can go to the local pharmacy and get this." And the people who deal it on the streets, they're not always the most trustworthy people in the world, as you can imagine. So what would you do? What would you say to people like that?
Well, my advice is do your research, do your due diligence, ask around, give it the old collegiate spirit, ask around if anybody's had some experiences. Obviously, you can search on the internet. There are reputable people on the internet. And
would you like to give some names out?
Well,
up to you. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah, I mean, I like Rhythmia. I like Jerry and his experience with Iboga that woke him up, and the moon told him to use ayahuasca, not Iboga. So Jerry owns Rhythmia down in Costa Rica. It has about 40 shamans that come in and out of there through the year. And I think any given night, there's 15 to 20 shamans, and there's about 80 participants. They used Taita Juanito and his whole lineage, a brother that has dedicated his life out of the rainforest and was taught by his elders how to use the Yahe medicine. There was another gentleman by the name of Brad down there, had very powerful and very resonant, balanced healing energy. So what I saw with Jerry and how he set up the template down there, I thought that they do very good work. Taita Juanito is another person. You can go into the Colombian Amazon. There are people that have their centers promoted on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can search that out. I always wanted to drink medicine with Juan Flores. He's outside of Pucallpa in Peru in the Amazon. And I never got the opportunity to work with him, but I could feel the resonant frequency. They also sing a lot of Icaros, and you can pick up on the resonance if they are a shaman that you may want to work with. So do your due diligence, do your research, and set your intention. When it's your time, the right situation will present itself. Okay. And again, work on your spiritual, I had 11 Vipassana courses in silence. I had practiced a lot of meditation before I even came close to drinking medicine with the Indians in the Amazon.
How long did you actually stay in the Amazon? Like, were you a guest with the locals there? How did they accept you? How'd you do this? Did you just show up and like, yo, what's up? How does this work?
So I had the good fortune of working with Amazon John Easterling and his company, the Amazon Herb Company. I started studying herbalism and fasting and internal purification, liver flushing, colon cleansing, all these things utilizing herbs 33 years ago. I was a Versace model sitting in Milan trying to make money for my career. And I got into fasting and herbs. And fast forward about 10 or 15 years later, somebody turned me on to the herbs of the Amazon rainforest from the Amazon Herb Company. I started putting these things into my body. That gave me another level of an awakening, another level. I had never felt this type of energy coming through my body. And so I joined that company and I started representing those herbs. And I went down to the Amazon rainforest with John Easterling to meet the vendors for that company. There was a camu plantation down there where we got the highest concentrated source of vitamin C for our skincare line, as well as very high-powered dried camu. And so I got to meet the vendors in Pucallpa, and then we went very far upriver to a place called Porvenir. And This place in particular, John Easterling was looking for the lost cities of El Dorado, the lost cities of gold. And he had contracted Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and it developed into hepatitis. And he was on his deathbed in a dugout canoe paddling up the rainforest.
Greed is a motherfucker, isn't it? Greed lowers your energy, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly can. And so I think John had more of the bug of just exploration. And so what he realized, the true treasure he was looking for, he was cutting down with machetes, going through the jungle. And so they gave him some ayahuasca, but more importantly, they gave him cat's claw, uña de gato, paw de arco, very antiviral, antibacterial plants. And this saved his life. He was on his deathbed with Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And so he came out of the jungle and brought bags of herbs to a doctor's conference. And so I went up to that village, Porvenir village, with him, and was accepted. You know, the Indians are very, very sweet, people. And so very demure and kind of.
They welcomed you, a white man, with open arms?
Absolutely. Yeah, huh. It was a very, very endearing experience. Now, don't forget, it's the Amazon. So if they don't like you, they'll tie you up and chop you up and just bury you.
And you've seen that too?
Well, I haven't seen that, but I've heard stories. My mentor down there was the gringo shaman, Scott Peterson, and he didn't fuck around. He had automatic weapons down there. And, there's coca traders down there out of work, right? And so it can be a very dangerous place, although it's very sensual and tropical, and the people, it's not modern day society.
Yeah. You literally live in a hut with like no electricity, correct?
Yes, he had some solar out there, but yes, I lived in quite a nice hut actually down there, and I worked with that company for about 8 or 9 years, and I would travel back and forth and do my own expeditions, as well as bring some other pilgrims down there that wanted to drink ayahuasca.
So when you're down there, who protects you? Who makes sure nothing happens to you because you're a stranger in a foreign land? Do they have police people there, or are these people so morally correct, so morally conscious that nothing like that would happen? I
didn't really feel that threatened in Peru whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But I was also when I went to Pucallpa, I was with a family, and they were leaders in the community. They were curanderos. Mm-hmm. And so nobody messed with me. Nobody came out to their land. They had a hut, a maloca, where they administered the ayahuasca, and I stayed there overnight. Their family came out and cooked for me. It was I love Latin America, for that reason. Now, I didn't get too close to them, and, they do treat you a little bit like an ATM, and they do try and work you for money. And so you have to balance that, but no one tried to rob me. I wasn't afraid of it. And then when I went up to Iquitos with my mentor, Scott Peterson, he had endless protection, and he lived there for years. He had a 9mm in his.
So if he has protection, it's warranted then.
Oh, absolutely! It's the Wild West down there. Okay. Are you kidding me?
No. So that's what I was getting at. That's exactly what I was getting at.
Yeah, he walked around with a 9mm, and he also had shotguns. And the last time I went down there, he had automatic weapons. What he said, the sentries would shoot off the shotguns at 12 and 2 a.m. in the morning. And he said it was just to send a message to anyone out there, any coca traders or any people that were thinking they were going to rob a gringo hotel, that it might not be in their best interest.
Well, that could be definitely appreciated. Let's move on. Amazon rainforest. Don't you have to worry about wild animals? Don't you have to worry about anacondas? Don't you have to worry about like certain animals you don't have to worry about in the big city? I mean, isn't there a danger that, if you're sleeping by yourself, walking in the wrong place, something might snatch you?
Well, definitely. I mean, there are anacondas down there, and there are even smaller snakes that will bite you and kill you. And there's insects that will kill you, and plants that will kill you. And so
sounds like a wonderful place.
Well, that's the great thing of being in the Amazon. You know that you're not top of the food chain, right? You feel extremely alive in the rainforest. I went swimming in the river that I saw a water moccasin in, and I know that there's anacondas and piranha. There were also piranha and Scott Peterson.
Whoa. Let me step back here a second. You actually went in a lake where you know there's anacondas and you know there's piranhas? I don't see any scars on you, bro. Like, I mean, listen, I'm a city boy, okay? This is all new to me, but this sounds crazy to some people because we've seen the YouTube clips where someone goes in, pets a crocodile, all of a sudden they lose a hand and shit like that. So how did you manage to swim with anacondas and not become food?
You know, I don't know. Maybe the spirits down there, they respect my spirit. I wanted to go in. It's hot, and ayahuasca makes you hot, and I wanted to go swimming in the river, and I enjoyed it. And Scott would go in there, and I brought one of my Aboriginal buddies down there, Will Hannigan, and he is from Australia. He harvests South Sea pearls where there's saltwater crocs and great white sharks, and so he had no fear. I had no fear. I don't know. You only live once, kind of thing.
I assume you know those anacondas and those poisonous snakes and insects get a couple hundred people every year at least, right? I mean, I hear stuff about this all the time. So you do have to be more aware of your surroundings in areas like that than, you know, chilling in Miami or Chicago. Then again, depends on what part of Chicago you could get shot. So, you know,
yeah,
I guess.
Chirac, they got all sorts of illegal weapons down there and young kids that are nuts and nothing else to live for.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you have fathers in your lives. That's exactly what happens. Correct. Let me ask you something. You've been talking a lot about holistic medicine, and I respect that. But I need to ask you now the question now. We can't move forward without it. Are you, sir?
As a child in the 60s.
No. Are you vaccinated for?
No fucking way, man. I'm a smart person.
There we go. Okay. Because if you were, this conversation would turn very negative very quickly, because I've actually talked to people who are holistic medicine experts, and then they say I'm trying to fucking figure out what the hell is wrong with them. What are your thoughts about my friend? You are a guy who spends, from what I can tell, his whole life doing everything basically by the holistic medicine book. What do you think when people out there are telling you to take what do you think when the governments are trying to push this down people's throats? What's the end game?
Well, you know, I think there's two forces that are guiding everything on this planet: yin, yang, good, evil, masculine, feminine, inhalation, exhalation. We live in a dualistic paradox. And so correct. I see a death wish being promoted by the dark entities. And also, if you're looking at people over profit and money and greed, and which is part of, you know, the human avarice, you know, A, it's business. B, it's depopulation.
There we go.
C, it's control. Totalitarianism exists. Mao Zedong, Stalin, and Hitler were all in the 20th century, and we often forget basic fundamental history that was not too long ago. And so, you know, this type of control, you know, is around us. This type of evil is around us. Look what happened in Guatemala and El Salvador, Iran, Contra. I mean, we've been doing this nonsense for so long. And the big part of my channel is...
If America doesn't do it, someone else will. And they might do it in a much, much worse way than America does now. I mean, let me tell you something. The CCP ever comes in control, they're not even going to try to play around like they care. At least America gives you that, you know, they at least try to make it look like they care about other countries. They try at least to make it look like they give the appearance that they're benevolent. The Chinese ain't even going to give a damn about that. They're going to just start eliminating people flat out. These are the most racist people on the planet, the Han Chinese. They don't think much of anyone else but themselves. And we see what happens when the Chinese get on top. They build a freaking wall, and they tell everyone to go fuck themselves. That's what they did in 1300s. They called us all barbarians. They're not going to repeat the same mistake twice. This time, when they're the top dog, they're going straight to war. So I'm extremely worried about China, which was founded 1949, the year of the ox, because if you look at the people they call the Antichrist in history, one, Napoleon was born in the ox year. Second, Hitler was born in the ox year. And now we have China that's been built up faster than any country in human history, and they're found in the ox year. So I'm really worried that as many faults as the United States of America has, and it's many, and the list gets bigger every freaking day, in my opinion. But sometimes, my friend, it's better to deal with the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Yeah, man, I can't understand. I can't understand that type of nefarious activity happening from anyone.
But you believe in yin yang. So you know because you believe a certain way, the universe is going to manifest your mirror. So if you're going to be a saint, it's going to produce sinners. That's why it says in the Bible, saints produce sinners. Because if you believe in yin yang, as above, so below, if you're out there doing nothing but good things, the universe is going to balance it out with people who do nothing but nefarious things. That's why I believe it's very important to be balanced in everything. Does that make sense to you, sir?
It does. I mean, that's a big part of what I teach. And, I'm not here to be Pollyanna, but I do believe in a little bit more of balance and harmony, and that is achievable. I think we've gone way far out of balance right now. And
how do we get that balance back?
This is the big philosophical question, that I ask myself. Can we have a level of harmony and peace on this planet where we can harmonize with the natural environment? Or at least myself, I question even, I live in Scottsdale right now. I question even living in society. I have some friends that are off grid, but I don't know, it's a weird time, man, just period. And I can't believe it's such a heartbreaking situation of what's happening with the United States. And the things that are being propagated as like, well, that's just the way it is.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples.
Like Joe Biden in the whole White House situation.
Yeah. I was invited to the White House under the Trump administration. I wish they would have crossed the Rubicon and did what they had to do when they had the power to do it, December 2020. But they didn't cross the Rubicon, and now we have this puppet pedophile Joe Biden in there, who is being controlled by Barack until April 25th of this year, when Susan Rice stepped down, and then all of a sudden Barack went to war against Biden because he decided he was going to run for president. Sooner or later, I expect Joe Biden to be removed somehow, whether it be himself or he's old or he gets 25th Amendment. Remember, his whole cabinet's Barack. So at some point, Barack is going to come out there and he's going to install Michelle as the Democratic nominee. And we know what's going to happen in 2024. It's going to be most likely Michelle versus Donald Trump, unless legal action keep Trump off it. Then it will be DeSantis. But that's pretty much what it's going to be. And it's kind of interesting if you look politics. What's his name? RFK was the guy who was trying to get some steam in the very beginning. And the thing interesting about RFK is he's born January 17th. That happens to be the same day Big Mike is born. So they go from one Democrat and they see, okay, we can't generate the steam, but we're our energy is behind that birthday. Our consciousness is with that birthday. So they just switch from one birthday to another. And unfortunately, that's going to be Michelle running very, very soon. I think you're on the same page as me. Trump or no?
Trump, I mean, I definitely, look, I'm apolitical. I think it's a whole weirdo situation. A lot of that stuff doesn't even represent me. I believe that there is another way beyond what we're creating right now in the world. I think Trump was definitely the best president that ever was around in my lifetime.
100%.
Right? As a brash New Yorker, you know, obviously the politics, everybody's making him out to be a misogynist, this, that, and the other thing. They haven't been to New York then. Because just your average dude on the stoop is like 10 times, 100 times worse than Donald Trump. And so, you know, I don't base a lot of faith in the politics. I'm here to change the world energetically on a different energetic level. My question to you is you study the gematria, and you know, what do you see? I see a huge quantum leap in human consciousness. I've been seeing this for years.
100%. 100%. We live in a time right now where there's more evolved people, more evolved souls than at any time in human history. But you know what the problem is? Yin yang. We have more devolved souls than at any time in human history. You can literally find anything you need on a smartphone. And 30 years ago, people have to go to the best colleges in the world to find out the same information you can Google right now. And they don't care. They care about Britney Spears. They care about the Kardashians. They care about what the government tells them to become. So again, we do have a lot of enlightened souls, but we also have these NPCs at a level we've never seen before. For God's sake, you have people cutting off their dicks and fucking saying they're women now. So again, we're in a completely different level. And my thing is, I don't even try to save those guys. I don't want anything to do with those people. I'm going to try to reach the people I can reach. I'm not going to try to save the world, because you're not going to save the world. One person is not going to save the world. And here's another thing, brother. I'm going to make this abundantly clear. Just like everything, there's two sides. We have a spiritual, we have a material side. Everyone's job is to balance that out as much as possible. Because if you're all material and all you care about is money, you're going to have no spiritual development. You're going to have probably no family. You're probably not going to have any kids, and you're going to fail your reincarnation. Then we have the other side, the people who are completely spiritual, but they don't know the value of this. So they can be the smartest man in the world. They can know all the knowledge they have, but because they have no money, they can't spread their message. So here's the thing. People have to learn how to balance. Take that 8, turn it sideways 90 degrees to infinity, and you're going to see a balancing act. So to me, it's very important for people to be materialistically inclined and spiritually inclined in the same time, because if you only do one, you fail. You live in Scottsdale. That's a pretty nice neighborhood, my friend.
Fucking A.
So again, you understand the material side of things as well, correct?
I do. And this is, you know, I'm exploring all aspects of this philosophy right now. And I also know that there's tons of people coming over the border, and a friend of mine works for Phoenix Unified, and she's got 129 new immigrant students that do not speak English from countries, not just Latin America, like Afghanistan.
Joe Biden.
All sorts.
That's Joe Biden.
Countries. Like, I mean, it's getting weird. I do like the fact that we've got the Second Amendment here. I think people really know in Arizona, fuck around and find out.
You don't seem like liberal at all.
Well, look, I have very progressive views. You know,
You just said you support the Second Amendment. You said fuck Biden. Are you a person who used to be classified as a progressive, and now because the shit is fucking tilted so far this way, you have found yourself on the other side? Are you one of those people?
You could say that. I consider myself an extreme centrist. I believe that I'm progressive. I'm here to change the monetary system. I'm here to change the energy system. And so I do have very progressive ideas beyond the capitalistic structures that we have right now, which I believe is just a form of socialism with the crony capitalism.
So hold on. You believe in socialism, or you believe in capitalism?
I believe in... I believe in something that's beyond crony capitalism, which is what we have, which is a form of socialism.
Explain. So you mean corporate welfare?
Corporate welfare, subsidies, good old boys club, insider trading, Nancy Pelosi, you know, these types of they're illegal crimes that are happening, but they're just, people are looking the other way. Well, or even what Joe Biden's doing, taking, you know, money, selling American secrets.
Oh, he's running a money laundering operation, just like and all the people who were running in Afghanistan. Listen, it's all money laundering operations. You see, in America, you have laws, and it's very, very difficult to fucking take $500 million to $1 billion out without this nasty paperwork that you have to do here in America. They always leave a paper trail. So what you want to do is you want to be a champion of foreign aid. You want to be so benevolent with other people's money. You want to send it overseas, because overseas they're corrupt and it's easy to get kickbacks. Sent Iran $1.5 billion in unmarked bills because he probably most likely got a 40% kickback. You know, people talk about the Clintons. See, the Clintons were stupid. The Clintons opened a foundation and everyone knew they were fucking running a fucking Ponzi scheme. But see, smart does things, but you know, like he will make sure that you cannot find a paper trail. So he's a much smoother criminal than, you know, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. How do you see this playing out? I mean, you got the numbers behind you. You study the numbers. How do you see things playing out?
Most likely, Michelle. And that pains me because, again, I was the one, I helped Trump in 2016. I was there with him in 2020. It's going to be very, very difficult to stop Michelle, Big Mike, whatever the hell you want to call her, because when it comes down to it, women are single issue voters. Most women are single issue voters, and they will vote for a woman no matter what. So at that point, all you need is 35% of the beta males to go the same way, and it's over. So I do worry about that. I do think nothing is set in stone. I do think things can change because, see, politics is very, very strange, man. Things just come out the blue. The people you think are going to win don't even end up running sometimes. Politics is a completely different game because people can be squeezed. Joe Biden betrayed Barack and said he was going to run for president. And now they're enemies. Now that's why all the FBI and everyone's going after Hunter now, where they were quiet about him before. He does plea deals now where that wasn't a deal because went after him. At some point, Joe Biden's going to step aside. I just think that machine is really strong. And I believe they propped up Trump themselves. Trump was trailing the Florida governor before those indictments. And after those indictments, his popularity went through the roof. And I believe that's what happened by design. They want to run against Donald Trump. They want to run against Donald Trump. They do not want to run against a guy like DeSantis. They want to run against Trump because you have to understand, for every person who's loyal as hell to Trump, there's 1.1% of people who hate him. So it's more tilted against them than for him. Now, that would be manageable if they could just control that in California and New York and all the usual Democratic enclaves, because you have the electoral system here, college system, and you can win without having the popular vote. But the thing is, the Democrats now control so many state houses. They're going to find a way to cheat. They're going to find a way to cheat. So if it was a straight election where every one vote, one counted, I think Trump wins. But unless Trump can pull a landslide, and that's what the hell it's going to take, it's going to be very difficult to stop the cheating that goes on in the Democratic Party. These people are notorious for fucking using every fucking loophole in the book. They will fucking, you know, that's in 2024, they're going to start caring about black people again. You're going to see Black Lives Matter come back and all this stuff. They only care about them once every 4 years. And people still haven't got that. So to me, I don't like any of these political parties. I know the main players on both. For God's sake, I had Barack Obama's brother here a couple weeks ago. So when it comes down to it, and I was invited to Trump's inauguration as well. So when it comes down to it, I don't like any of these political parties. But for me, I have learned through age, it's not about being an idealist. You have to go with the lesser evil. And the lesser evil, by far, is what you said is the best president you ever lived under. And by the way, I said the same thing, and that's Donald J. Trump.
So with all that said, especially about this, how did he beat out Hillary then? Because I thought she was a shoo-in.
Because Obama helped him.
Obama helped him?
Yeah, let me explain, because this is hard for people to understand sometimes. In 2011, the first person who said President Trump was President Barack Obama at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And he basically put the energy out there in 2011 that there would be a President Trump. He fucking put that seed out there. Then in 2015, Donald Trump runs. Now, what does Barack Obama get? See, there were 17 Republicans running that year when he was president. 17, the largest Republican field ever. Cruz was running, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, Marco Rubio, the biggest field ever. Yet, Barack Obama didn't mention anyone's name but Donald J. Trump. So let's say, for instance, you're a megastar for the Democratic Party and all the Republicans hate you. You know for 100% that if you start talking shit about a certain person, all the people who hate you are going to go straight to him. That's what you call propping someone up. So what happened was Barack Obama made Donald Trump the #1 guy in the Republican Party by always talking about him, because the people who hate Obama are like, yo, he must hate this guy. We got to get in this guy's team. What happened was right before the election, James Comey, who was the FBI director at the time, reopened the email investigation to Hillary Clinton. He did that 3 days before the election. Now, if you know the Clintons, you know they put a lot of bodies in the ground. James Comey is not going to risk doing that unless he has assurances. And he had those assurances from Barack. So Barack had to make sure that Trump won to keep the Clintons out, because the Clinton is his main rival from 2008, and she would have erased his legacy. Any power he had within the Democratic Party, any power he had within the deep state, she would have negated right away. But she still had something. She had the DNC. That was the deal they made in 2008. When he took the presidency, she still controlled the Democratic Party. And guess what happened when she lost in 2016? They cleaned house. Now, the one thing that Obama didn't control, now he has. The Democratic Party, the DNC. So he controls the deep state. He controls the FBI. He has Biden's whole fucking cabinet. And now he controls the DNC. So again, he's going to make anyone he wants president. And by the way, he's the only former president in a long time who left the White House and didn't leave D.C. Why? Because he's the shadow president. He's been running this for a while, him and Valerie Jarrett. And now, after understanding all this, it makes sense why they kneecapped Trump's presidency from the very start. With the investigation, Russiagate phony, after phony Ukraine investigation, they literally kneecapped his presidency, and that's what Obama knew he'd had to do. And then he just put the election back and gave it to Biden away from Trump. So that's what I believe happened. I have a lot of evidence that basically corroborates what that said. And again, I'm sure this is the first time you're hearing it, but you seem like a pretty smart guy. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and almost, anything could possibly make sense these days, because I don't claim to know what's going on. But my question to you is who does Barack work for?
Rothschilds. And the Clintons work for the Rockefellers. And when J.P. Morgan Chase merged with Chemical Bank, that was basically the Rockefellers bending the knee to the Rothschilds. Ever since then, they do only political games, man. You have to understand, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Lee family, the 13 plus the Finter family, they're like a mob, okay? They will try to undermine each other. But if anyone comes for them, they come together as a collective and destroy them. So they're kind of like a family who doesn't really like each other. But if anyone threatens them from the outside, they'll all come after you. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. And so my question to you is well, how does this all shake out with the quantum leap? And, are we going to end up like, what is that? Babylon or Sodom and Gomorrah? I mean, is this society?
I think we're like almost there in Sodom and Gomorrah. Have you been to San Francisco?
Look, that was my hometown for many years, and
so let me now. I
haven't been back. I haven't been back in at least 4 years.
Okay, let me explain to you why they sexualize San Francisco. That is really important. See, San Francisco, or that area around San Francisco, is the root chakra of the earth. Okay, and the root chakra deals with sexuality. And the way and basically the way you know this is because there's a certain type of color that revolves around the root chakra. It's red. Okay. So also there's a certain type of tree that grows pretty much only in Northern California. It's called the redwood. So that's why they have Bohemian Grove over there. They knew if they sexualized San Francisco, the root chakra of the earth, that fucking garbage rainbow would spread everywhere. See, they understand how stuff like this works, and they actually use it against people. And that's why people have to start paying attention to metaphysical science. They have to start paying attention to how this stuff works, because you can talk about anything you want, but if you don't know how your enemy is using this energy against you, it doesn't really matter. That is the difference between knowing things and actually applying them in everyday life. Unfortunately, these people who are applying it in many cases are doing it in nefarious ways.
Mm-hmm. So what do you feel our out is to balance out what's going on? Or
strong families.
Always have to
strong families. That's the only way. Because see, what happens is the government wants to break up the nuclear family. The nuclear family is what always holds the government in check. For instance, if the Biden administration was around in the 1950s, these guys would be in prison because the nuclear family was very, very strong back then. And they aren't fighting amongst themselves. See, now people are fighting amongst themselves. The women, the men, everyone's fighting amongst themselves. And because they're fighting amongst themselves, they can't be looking at someone else and what they're doing. So they want to fuck up society so they can steal as much as possible. But when the nuclear family is complete and you don't have all the BS that goes on without having them, then they can focus on other things like the government and making sure they're held in check. So the stronger the nuclear family is, the stronger we will be as a collective to hold the government in check. It doesn't matter if only one person in your family is spiritual. It doesn't matter. If only one person, you can have two other degenerates in the same freaking family. So what I'm basically trying to tell you is uplift your family first. My family knew about numerology and astrology before I spread it out to society. Uplift your family, the people who are close to you, and understand you cannot save everyone, nor should you freaking try. Most of these people are NPCs. They have no soul. What that basically means is a person with a soul cannot be loyal. If they have no soul, they will not be loyal to you. They will turn on you, and they will turn very quickly on you too. So it's a must to go out there and find people who have a freaking soul. Because I'm going to tell you, brother, you look in people's eyes. You look in people's eyes, and you can tell if they're empty. Look at Zuckerberg's eyes. They're freaking empty. People need to start paying attention to the little things in life. Stuff like that matters.
Well, hallelujah on that. I'm definitely a family man, even though I've had plenty of challenges with all this feminism bullshit that started in '73 with the CIA, and I see it playing out on so many different levels. The programming around toxic masculinity, the Me Too movement, and not that there wasn't abuse out there. It's just all these things have been manipulated. The sexualization. The normalizing of dysfunction, I call it.
I haven't heard any progressive views out of you, bro. I hear red pill stuff. I hear mostly what, people who are conservative say. I haven't heard any progressive views. So let's hear about some of your progressive views, my friend.
So my 4 solutions for saving the planet are self-care education, which gets taught in the schools, how to take care of the human body. Mm-hmm. And then we've got We've got free energy, Tesla technology, zero-point technology, cold fusion, which was researched in the 80s. Like the Wright brothers, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, we can achieve. If you want to fly like an eagle and everybody tells you you're crazy.
The Wright brothers were 33s. So their ability of manifesting is way higher than the average person. So we can't really compare them to others because they were 33 life paths.
Right. We're not in comparison. We're just talking about what's possible. And I believe that free energy is possible on this planet.
Okay. Let's push back a little bit on free energy. If you have free energy, all the people who are working in all the factories, all the people who are working at all the drill sites, all the people at all the gas stations, they're losing their jobs. All those people who are losing their jobs, there's also a supply chain. So if you take away all the gas and you take away all the coal, it's not only those people lose their jobs, it's all the way going down. So my question to you is, if we do everything that you're saying to do, have free energy, it all sounds good, but what happens when people are starving? They're going to start, we're going to go back to the good old days where people are raiding people's huts and basically killing each other. I want to do what you say. I want to have free energy. I want to have all the best food available. But if you do that, you start putting all the hospitals out of business. You start putting all these people out of business. So my question, no, I'm being dead serious with you. At some point, you put so many people out of business, you put so many people out of work, hungry people get violent, and people who are in poverty start causing criminality. So what is your plan to basically admit all that stuff that we both agree is wonderful, but there's a lot of consequences that come with it? What do you say to something like that?
So my 4 major solutions for my President of Planet Earth campaign, I ran in 2016, 2020, and I plan on running again to co-opt the whole machine around the presidency. My President of Planet Earth campaign is free energy, permaculture, food is free when you drop a seed in the ground, self-care education, so everyone takes care of their own real estate, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and then the gift economy, where brothers and sisters give what they are naturally effortless genius about. Some people like to cook food, some people like to grow food, some people like to eat food like myself, some people like to make babies, some people like to take care of babies or teach them in school. We've got, there will always need to be doing some type of man type of work, right? The sewer's got to run. How
do you pay those people?
So we live on a gift economy.
It's a gift economy.
Contributionism.
What
you're good at.
What happens when people don't want to give anything?
Well, fuck them in the gulag.
Well, see, then you gotta use force. And if you're gonna use force,
hold on. I know I get what you're saying, but again, this is so outside of the box of what we're set in from. No one's free until we're all free.
Brother, I've heard stuff like this for 20 years. So that's why I'm able to push back and say, listen, if we get rid of all this stuff, who's going to pay people? How are we going to have a gift economy? That's basically like socialism. There's no incentive for people to do anything. When you have no incentive for people to do anything, they're not going to do anything. So the whole thing's going to fall apart. People, if you're going to live that way, you have to implement Sharia law. If you're going to live that way, you have to implement something for people to fear as a collective, that if you don't do this, you're going to be punished. That is the only way something like that is even remotely possible. And knowing how human nature works, I think you'd have war in the streets.
That is possible. Einstein said you can't solve a problem at the same level of mind that created it. And we're all using these fiat currency dollars, these petrodollars, based on war, based on genocide, based on slavery.
Okay.
And so I'm calling forth a new idea. And so people in their hearts know that it's potentially possible. Greg Braden, the scientist that had a near-death experience, he talks about organisms. They don't necessarily mutate, they evolve. And how they evolve is through cooperation. And right now we're in competition. And so, look, this is an experiment.
Isn't competition good between men? Isn't competition something you want men to strive for? You know, I look at the people in my field who are doing better than me. That's competition. They put a bar out there for me to try to reach. If there's no one up there, you know, if you don't have something to compete against, you know, you're probably not going to compete that hard.
Sure. But let's go back to the 7 deadly sins. Are they killing, lying, cheating to get there and get ahead of you? Comparison is the thief of joy. Are they living a fulfilled life?
Only if they're Zionists.
What's that?
Only if they're Zionists.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is we can look at other people and think that they're more successful than us, but successful according to what? What are the metrics? Just money or just status? You know, do they have a relationship?
How about influence? How about the most influential people on earth have the most power because people follow them? I'll give you an example. Jesus Christ. That man's been dead for a long time. Muhammad's been dead for a long time. Even if they didn't exist, they're the most popular dead men in the freaking world. Everyone's talking to them. So again, I don't look at money as being the number one thing. I don't look at people with a bodybuilding physique as number one thing. I don't think look at people who have 10, 20 dime pieces who are whores on the same team. I look at your influence, because influence is a metric not just because of your spirituality, but also how much money you have. Both pieces. I think that's important.
Well, and I think, look, we're talking philosophy here, so there's many nuances and caveats. But this is what I teach my students. I have the Fit and Free Legacy program. I teach people to have a legacy, a purpose, a dream that is bigger than them, that does drive them. My dream is to create systems that are beneficial for all. My vision is clean air, water, soil, and equitable systems for all mankind. I live on this fucking planet. I drink water. My body's 70% water. I don't want polluted water. I know there's African children that are mining cobalt for our cell phones and all this stuff, and they've got to live like shit. I don't like that on my watch.
Okay.
I'm here to create something that's a little bit more egalitarian,
100%.
a little bit more balanced, a little bit more harmonized. And like the Bright Brothers, that told everybody that they're fucking crazy, and I'm a 333 no matter what anyhow, so I can dream the impossible dream. Steve Jobs wanted to put these handheld computers in everyone's hands. He wasn't a designer. He wasn't an engineer. He was an idea man. I'm simply an idea man. We can do things a different way. We can create more balance, but we will have to think outside of the box. As Einstein said, we can't solve the problems at the same level of mind that created them. I'm also a big Buckminster Fuller fan. You don't fight the existing systems, although I'm here to talk a lot of shit about the systems. I'm over here, I'm going to design the future, right? And the future's already here. It's already been set forth. The creator set forth a natural environment that we can naturally, we're already symbiotically related to that. All we have to do is harmonize, like in music or cymatics. We can harmonize the frequencies. It's numbers or frequencies.
Correct.
I believe that we can use all these things to our advantage. And we can also bring around the dark forces that are more harmonious as well. And so I believe that we can create harmony. And so call me a crazy one.
No, I don't think you're crazy. You know, I think that, you know, what you probably want is a little bit out of reach, because you have to understand that there's a lot of different people in the world. How many students do you have?
I don't know. I've got almost 1 million people following me, and
you have like do you have any like paid courses and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've sold about 10,000 courses online. My breathwork course,
outstanding. So we can say that you have 10,000 paid students in some way, shape, or form. Correct?
I've helped over 35,000 people with nutrition too.
Okay.
So
but
no, let me finish one thing, brother. So the free energy is going to free a lot up. If you can get a device somehow to power your car, right? And then we have free energy for the house. That's going to cut most of what we're working for in the first place. I do have friends that live off grid. And so, and there's plenty of work involved. You think people in today's society can live off grid? You think that average person? I think
wait a second.
To be a huge purge.
So Okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking because first you're saying this kumbaya stuff, and now I'm hearing what the fruits and butter of it is. You believe there has to be a purge, correct?
Well, it has to be. I just think that there's called balance, and there's going to be. And that all the NPCs that are dragging down on the systems, I think they're destined to go. Who took the poison jab? Isn't that part of? And I know Darwin's theories were advanced on his deathbed, but isn't that part of the strongest survive? If people are that gullible to take it, well.
This is what I told people. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how successful you are. I don't care how knowledgeable you are. I don't care what you've done in life. If you took you failed. You failed the biggest psyop in world history. You failed your family. You failed your friends. And most likely, if you're going to die in 5 years of cancer, you'll die in 2. If you're going to get a heart attack in 10 years, that's going to make sure you get in 2, 3. So that's how they cover what the does. They get a heart attack or they get a stroke, and they're going to say, oh, they just got a stroke. It wasn't no. They made sure it happened quicker. It's going to put a lot of people in their deathbeds. And right now, we already know that what's happening. We've seen so many athletes who basically dedicated their life to athletics achievements, and they drop dead on the basketball court, drop dead doing their activities, drop dead running on the fucking soccer field. People will pay for their stupidity. I agree with you, brother. But a purge would mean we would have to go through a very, very cataclysm. There would have to be a cataclysm, and a cataclysm on the scale of a huge earthquake just destroys everything. Everyone's in a blackout. So that would cause a lot of pain. But yes, that's the only way something you're talking about is possible. Because if you have a whole bunch of people who are actually enlightened, something like that could work. The problem is the average IQ ain't going up, brother. The average IQ is going down. So you understand, these people who are oppressed, they will protect their oppressor. They will attack. And lastly, before I turn it over to you, I do think we're going to have a purge. And the purge is very, very simple. Islam is growing. Islam is the only religion right now that is growing and growing because it's not just a religion, it's also a political system. That's one of the reasons. And the LGBT is also growing. At some point, when the Islamic world gets to about 30, 35, 40% of France, Sweden, UK, they're not going to tolerate those rainbow people anymore. And at that point, we're going to see a cleansing. So I believe that's probably going to happen late next decade, maybe until 2045, somewhere before the Chinese expect to take over in 2049. So yes, I do believe there's going to be a cleansing, but it's not going to be the one people think.
Well, I hope we wake up before that and have a different experience. I do have to go pick up my daughter at school.
All right, brother. Let me get this in. How do people get a hold of you? If people are interested in your work, how do they reach out to you?
They can go to fitandfreelegacy.com, fitandfreelegacy.com. I have a new program coming out helping people get fit and free. Freedom in the mind first, mental health is part of holistic health. And then of course, physical health. If I can do it, you can do it. And so we've got to really pay attention to the food supply right now. Follow me across the internet on Certified Health Nut.
Okay, and that's on IG, that's on Twitter, that's on everything, correct?
MrHealthnut on Twitter, Certified Health Nut on TikTok, Instagram. Somebody runs my TikTok. I don't know.
It's they run mine too, brother.
I got a good thing for you. I was permanently banned. I got a really good social media manager. I was permanently banned for shooting my guns off with my children on 4th of July, talking shit about the CCP. And then my social media manager, I was permanently banned, kicked off completely. He got me reinstated. He got on the phone with some executive.
To what service?
What service?
To which one? TikTok?
Yeah, to TikTok. Yeah, of course. I was talking shit about the CCP, talking about First Amendment, Second Amendment. It was right in the middle of my it was July 4th.
Yeah,
I got an AR-15 and a handgun and a shotgun, and my daughter was 12 or 11 at the time. It was good, but I got banned.
All right, brother. Well, have your manager reach out to me. I'd like to, or my assistant, and I'd like to have him to put in some work too. Secondly, my brother, no matter what our differences, I would really, literally appreciate if every single progressive person in America thought like you, and that would make life a lot easier in this country. Lastly, 2025 is the year of the snake. That's when you make your big push. That is when you'll gain your most influence. Go hard that year. I'm sure you know not to eat pork. I'm sure you know not to drink. Those aren't just Muslim customs. Those are people who are born in the year of the snake, just like me and you. Cut it all out the system. Pork, never. Don't even fucking be around people. Like when I go eat with people, I tell the waitress or waiter right away, no one at the table is ordering pork. Make it that way. That's like kryptonite to us, brother. Anyways, it was a pleasure talking to you. Go do your dad thing. And hopefully some people watching this will take an interest in some work and reach out.
God bless. I appreciate you so much, brother.
Take care, brother. Pleasure.
Yeah. God bless.